Well, alrighty. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Just making sure we're A-OK on my end. We got another iteration of the Lone Star Show for you guys. We got Dallas Cowboy Fan 1980 with the power. You got me, Space Cowboy 17. Got old school, new school, all this other stuff. But we got to talk about our Cowboys this week. We got another game upcoming. Man, the week has flown by pretty fast, if I do say so myself. What's going on to everyone in the chat? Let me just go ahead and just organize myself really quickly so that I don't get discombobulated on my end. But okay, so we have another game coming up this Sunday. We have a 1 o'clock game if you live in the Eastern time zone. If you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, it's like 1980, or in the Central time zone, the game's going to be at 12 noon. But with that being said, this game has a lot of stakes for both teams. Both teams are 0-1. Both teams are in a division, or in divisions where there's only one team that has won. Like, only one team. The New Orleans Saints are the only team that has a win in their column. In the South and in the East, Washington football team, which I can't believe that the Washington football team is the only team with a win. But again, I want to reiterate, like, it's a long season. You know, there could be teams that start, like, I've seen teams start out 5-0 and end up 8-8. I've seen that happen.
Don't tell the Washington fans think they're going to the Super Bowl.
No, but again, it's a long season. Ultimately, we'll see how things go. But with all that being said, I think we need to start talking about this game. So, first things first, a couple nuggets of information before we get started with the game. Starting with the Cowboys. Interestingly enough, Dak Prescott is the only team. You know, Dak Prescott, when it comes to the Falcons are the only team in which he's played multiple times, twice, and has yet to throw a touchdown pass against. That's an interesting. So we'll hope to see his first this game. Another interesting fact is with Ezekiel Elliott. Did you know that Ezekiel Elliott, he's averaged 125.5 career scrimmage yards per game, most in the Super Bowl era, with a minimum of 50 games played. He just, if I remember correctly, he just hit 50 games played or just about. So he, really damn good running back. As for the Falcons, and well, one more fact, the Cowboys are 12-4 at home since 2018. So it looks like the Cowboys finally have a bit of a home field advantage going for them. You know, in years past that really didn't exist, but now I think it does again. As for the Falcons, interesting fact, Matt Ryan has not won a road game in September or October since week 8 of 2017. He's 0-6 in that span of time. Also, the one thing that I'm keeping an eye out is Julio Jones. Julio Jones has averaged 117 career receiving yards against the Dallas Cowboys. That is the second most in the Super Bowl era, with a minimum of 4 games against a single team. So, with that being said, those are your nuggets of information of the base value. Now, I want to start out with 1980. What are your quick thoughts, like initial thoughts about going into this game?
Well, like I said when we was talking offline, first of all, thanks everybody for joining us, the Lone Star Show, Space Cowboy 17 and I, 1980. It's a privilege, an honor, and a privilege to be doing this show with him, this guy, man. We go back pretty far and been doing this for a while together. So I'm pretty pumped. Ill-prepared, but pumped. But I'm back to the drawing board again with this game. I'm back to the drawing board. Everything that we thought that was going to happen last week, it didn't. Obviously, it didn't happen because we're 0-1. I'm the type of fan. I'm diehard. I'm very, very, very passionate. I was born into this 40 years, and I like to win every game. And when you lose games, we've only had one game, but still, when you lose games, they a lot of your weaknesses are on why you lost are exposed. And we have a lot of weaknesses that I kind of knew we had, but I thought we would, with the new coaching staff and everything, I thought it would kind of override our situation. Everything that's happening with the injuries and everything, we kind of already saw it coming in because we didn't have a preseason. And a buddy of mine talked about this today, older guy, old school cat. He said that these injuries are coming out of nowhere because we talked about Tyron Smith today. I know we're going to get there, but he said it's like a car sitting in the garage over the winter, and then you just go out and one day and just go out and start it and start driving it. Something's going to go wrong. So the Dallas Cowboys have been that car. We've had the the off season with training camp and things like that, but not having a preseason, going head to head with different blood, it really helps. And with Van Der Esch going down, and just all these injuries all over the place, man. I'm back to the drawing board. Everybody's blaming the whole loss on Dak Prescott, and you got to have an offensive line to throw the ball. It's 11 guys on the field. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. People gonna blame. When you're losing, people start pointing the finger. They're pointing the finger. Somebody has to be to blame, and I just kind of sit back and let everybody cry and bitch and moan. But I'm looking for us to get this win tomorrow. I really am. I think we should. We're both, like you said, we're both 0-1, and they're hungry. They're looking for their first win. We're hungry. We're looking for our first win to redeem ourselves, and we're at home too. So you don't let nobody come in your house and eat your lunch and just leave. You don't let nobody come in your house and open your refrigerator or change the oil in your garage or change their child's diaper and just put the damn diaper on the couch. That's your house, So I'm ready, man. I'm ready, but I'm taking it slow. I'm not getting all pumped up about it because that loss just kind of brought me back down to reality. So it's just back to the drawing board for me. Sorry if I went too long.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, I think ultimately my initial indication for this game and just reaction or thoughts are just, look, you got to get something. Like, you can't be losing games against these NFC opponents because ultimately, and we've said this in years past, like there have been games where the Cowboys would drop games to certain NFC opponents and they would lose out on getting into the playoffs. I really do think that, ultimately you want to win your division, but sometimes circumstances happen where some teams do outstandingly well, more notably in 2017 where the Cowboys had a chance to get into the wild card round, but again, because they lost to certain teams like Atlanta, if they had beaten Atlanta, they would have been in the playoffs that year. But, some things, you can't control. But with that being said, however, I do want to say I really feel confident with this game coming up on Sunday. But I do want to make sure people are aware that this is pretty much, if you look at the history with both of these teams and just some of the notable information, neither of these teams have started 0-2 in quite some time. The Cowboys have not started 0-2 since 2010. And even before that, they haven't started 0-2 since 2002. So there's only 2 seasons that I recall. I'm not sure about 2001 or 2000, but as you can see, like the Cowboys have not started 0-2 in quite some time, and now they're the Falcons. The Falcons haven't started 0-2 since 2007. So something's got to give this time. This time. However, this is going to be an interesting game to see how Mike McCarthy looks with the given circumstances we're in. Let's move over to the injury report really quickly. So in terms of the Cowboys injury report, there are a couple question marks that we need to keep an eye on, more notably just one. So Anthony Brown, he was limited in the Friday practice, but odds are he's going to play. Jordan Lewis and Amari Cooper are good to go. I know Aldon Smith was on the injury report, and people were freaking the hell out. They're like, whoa, because it's something with his tooth. He's fine. He's going to be good to go. The biggest question mark is Tyron Smith. And to be honest with you, I'm sorry, man, but we got to figure out what the hell we're going to do with this offensive line. Because ultimately, Tyron has been having these issues, whether it be his neck, his back, this, there, and a third. It's getting pretty annoying. Now, I'm not saying you cut dead weight with him yet because of the contract you have with him. I personally think you got to definitely look for his replacement at this point. I put this on Twitter before the show started. I said, there is a possibility that you're going to end up having to have Zach Martin possibly play right tackle. There is a possibility. First off, shout out to Cowboys blog and both mine and 1980s chat. Thank you so much for tuning in, brother. Make sure you guys check out the Frisco Report with him and Cowboys Corner. Really damn good show. But,
Great
it is, yeah. I always listen to it on my way up to work, but with that shameless plug out of the way, and to end off so I could pass it off to you, they got to get these young guys involved with this offensive line. We got to stop, like trying to rely on these. Not to say like, oh, don't rely on Zach Martin. Like they're all pros at their position. I'm not trying to insinuate you just kick them to the curb. All I'm getting at is that we need to get some fresh blood on this offensive line. And you got guys like Connor McGovern who's being inactive for some reason, and he's not like he's hurt. You have Tyler Biadasz, who really should be starting, but that's just me.
At what position for
center?
Center, really? Wow, wow. Once again, this goes back to not having a preseason. It wasn't. I think the Dallas Cowboys were like, okay, this is what we got. This is what we're going with. We got our veterans in there. We got our crafty veterans in there. So we're just this is what they were saying on the 105.3 The Fan, that they were not going to have open, especially on the offensive line, because they already had who they had, who they got in there, the veterans. You're right. I agree. They should have tried to see what these guys can do. Now, I even said this before the season started. I said these first couple of games are going to be test runs, and it sucks that we have to do it like this, because now all these games count. There's no preseason. So I hate to keep saying that, but it's still affecting us. It's still affecting us. Look at the injuries. Look what's going on. Look how we were ill prepared on defense. We were coached mentally, physically. We were ill prepared at all. The defense lost that game for us last week, and also some things that happened on offense. Whatever. But I know we're on to the Falcons now, but I just have to put that out there.
No, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
But there's so many things that preseasons that helps. It helps us find what this guy can do on the field against other. It's so different. It's so different playing against your own teammates than other guys. I mean, other teams. It is. I mean, I played on different levels, so not the pro level, but I played on different levels. Right. So I kind of understand a little bit of that. But not having Tyron Smith, if he's not going to play, that's going to hurt us. That's going to be another blow to the offensive line. We don't have the best offensive line anymore. They still say that on the radio. They're still, we got the best offensive line in football. Now stop saying that, man. Travis Fredericks is gone, and Lyle Collins is not in the mix. We won't get him back to after week 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
And Tyron Smith is dominant 85%, 80%. So I can take a 80% Tyron Smith. He's still one of the best tackles in the league.
Right.
But come on, man. I mean, he's probably not going to play. So who's backing him? Who's backing Tyron Smith?
I honestly don't know what the hell the Cowboys have planned, because they really have kept things quiet.
Right.
But if I were to put listen, I don't know what they're going to do. Odds are they
were talking about Connor Williams moving over to left tackle. They said
right.
Connor Williams, if Tyron Smith doesn't play, Connor Williams moving over to left tackle, and maybe putting McGovern at the left guard position, trying him out.
Right, and there are multiple combinations that you can do, and I see a Cowboys blog in the chat says O-line has that Kyle Kozier, Leonard Davis vibe right now. It's just not that good. I completely listen. I'm going to be completely honest. This line, I would say, is reminding me of 09, 2010, and I hate to do the whole 2010 vibes because we know what happened in that season. But the thing was we're at a crossroads with this offensive line, right? This offensive line, we were very used to it being, the greatest in the NFL or up there.
Right.
But the problem is that the Cowboys, with the loss of Travis Frederick, which I'm going to be completely honest, he did not look like the same he was in years past, generally due to the illness and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to blame him there. My thing is that the Dallas Cowboys really need to nail some, and I think I said this on the other show, if I recall.
Probably.
We need to nail late round offensive line selections. You need to get starters in the later rounds, because ultimately you need to be using those first round picks for guys that are going to help your team right now. Now, again, I'm not saying you don't take a first round lineman unless it's like an all pro guarantee, which for the most part, the Cowboys do hit on offensive linemen in the first round, but right. We can't. But getting back to your point, not to try and drag on.
Yeah. This
offensive line is going to be tested in week 2, especially with Tack McKinley. I see a Say What You Like Sports podcast mentions Tack McKinley, which I agree. Him and what's his name? I forget his name. The defensive lineman. I think it's Grady Garrett.
Grady Jarrett. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I know his name. It's like something like that. But yeah, so they have some cats on that defensive line in Atlanta, which will give us fits. But I do want to say this though: if Mike McCarthy is going to be as good as advertised or maybe decent, he's going to have a game plan to show, hey, listen, this offensive line is not looking at top level, or it's not playing optimally. Right. So you know what? Maybe we do have to put Zach Martin at right tackle. Maybe we do have to put maybe Joe Looney at left guard or right guard or whatever the hell the configuration needs to be. Because I think if you're going to put Zach at tackle, what I'm thinking it's going to be Connor Williams at left tackle. At left guard, you're probably going to put Joe Looney or Connor McGovern. They're both going to play guard. It's just a matter of where you want to put them. And Tyler starts at center. But I'm going to be honest, man, if we really need to get him out there.
This is the time. This is the time to do it. Just go ahead and do it. You got to go ahead and do it because you see how the game went last week when you don't have an offensive line. Dak had no time, barely, and it just, when you don't have an offensive line, that's where the team starts. That's why the Rams were able to go out and do what they were actually doing what they wanted to do.
Right.
No pass rush. They didn't have just the best offensive line in the world, but they had a pretty good line to protect, to protect their quarterback. And so he can make those throws. They do all those motions and everything. Having a healthy, dominant offensive line goes a long way. You can run, you can pass. Your quarterback has time to make good decisions. Trust me. When you have a good offensive line, it really affects the gameplay of your quarterback. It does.
Right.
In a positive way. They have the time to make those throws. See, everybody's sitting on their couch and they're like, oh, Dak made some horrible throws. Trust me, bro. If you had 350-pound linemen coming in your face,
right,
running 4.8s, 4.9s, 350 pounds, dog, you ain't gonna make a good decision throwing that ball either.
Right.
So it goes so far, man, and it's so deep, and they got to figure out something real fast because that's where the team starts. The whole team, offense and defense, offensive line, they control the tone, they set the tone, time of possession, they keep the defense on the field fresh. Defense be able to come out 3 and out, boom, back on the field. Offensive line,
right.
We got to get that mentality back that we had in 2014 and 16 or whatever, and we just got to get it because Zeke has gotten his step back, look like it, and he's ready to go. He's ready to feed, man.
Yeah. See, here's my thing, and I know like a lot, and I just saw this in the chat. I was just about to say this before we move on to the defensive side of the ball. And we'll come back to a couple things offensively speaking. But my whole thing is this, right? Is like when it comes to the offensive line, there are things coaching can't help, right? We had the same argument when it was either the coaching or player execution. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Again, on Sunday, some of that was player execution. I mean, like you saw, they were just getting manhandled. Like, yeah, you could say, well, maybe they should brought in a tight end to chip block, but my whole problem is that you can only do that so much. You can't chip block in the interior of an offensive line. Obviously, I mean, you can do double teams, but my whole point is that if we start seeing a track record of this offensive line not playing well, we can maybe point to Joe Philbin not doing his thing, but at the same time, we got to look at the talent out there. When you have undrafted rookie free agents at tackle, which, by the way, look, I'm not saying they're absolute trash, but there's a thing. If you don't have that quality there at the depth or the starters, it's going to show. And I'm worried that could be a thing. But with that being said, let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. Now, we should talk about the Atlanta's injury report. Now, there's a couple things here and there. I want to they have a ton of people on their injury report, but I want to bring up a couple things. People were thinking, is Dante Fowler going to play? Yes, he is. He was a full participant in practice. It looks like there's only 2 players for the Falcons that are out, and those are Charles Harris, defensive end, and Kendall Sheffield, cornerback. Now, there is a possibility that the Cowboys could see Jake Matthews, one of the better offensive linemen for the Falcons, be out for this game. And this would be a huge opportunity for the defensive line. Now, again, we shouldn't be relying on injuries to pick on opposing quarterbacks because honestly, that's not what the MO is supposed to be. But there are a couple things also. Some people were talking about like Julio Jones. Listen, ultimately, there's only a couple guys that are on this injury report that I say, hey, they're going to play. And some are like, oh, they're not going to play. But with all that being said, let's move over to this defensive side of the ball, right? We talked about it last week. This run defense did not look good to start the game, but it really kind of picked up later in the game. But my biggest concern is this passing game. Atlanta has been notorious for being a pass-heavy team. I mean, they were playing catch-up last week, so obviously their stats were going to be inflated. I know a lot of people like to talk about that last year with Dak Prescott, and in some instances, sure, but for the most part, the scores weren't as ridiculous as this type of game. In some games, yes. But my point is that this is a game where you want to make the Falcons run the ball. And you might be saying, Space, why the hell are you saying that? Well, let's take a look at what they did last week, right? Last week, take a look at their statistics. And I know statistics don't tell the whole story because ultimately they had to play catch-up. But even when they were running the ball, they did not look effective. Okay, they had 72 rush attempts they only had 72 yards of rushing on 21 attempts. That's 3.4 yards a carry. Okay? Todd Gurley didn't look impressive. He looked okay in some instances, but ultimately I'm not sweating bullets over it. But if you're going to win this game, you got to make Atlanta run the football and make them afraid to pass the ball. But you don't want to give them those opportunities, man, to let them light you up like a Christmas tree. So I don't want to go on forever. But, man, what are your thoughts on trying to take down this high-powered Atlanta Falcons offense?
Well, my thoughts is where the defense start because it's a domino effect. It's the defensive front. They got to play. They really have to come and play. They have to do their homework and come and play. If we can stop that, if we can get a good pass rush, a good run stop, looks like they're going back to the 4-2-5 because Sean Lee's not coming back and Van Der Esch is out. And it's going to be was it Joe Thomas and God damn it. What's the other linebacker? What's Jalen Smith?
Yeah, I was like.
So it looks like we're going to be in a 4-2-5 again because of their high-powered passing offense. It's the pass rush, man. It's that front four. And I know it's going to be the same front four we saw last week, but I hope they watched a lot of film. I hope they watched a lot of film and got embarrassed in the film room and got cursed out like they were.
Right.
I really do, because it's when you get embarrassed and get cussed out at the same time, it's not a good feeling, man.
No.
They always go back and watch film, the day after or the day other after,
Yeah.
But, it's just that pass rush, man. That's the only way that this defense is going to get better because it's a domino effect. Pass rush is good, front four is good, linebackers going to play good. Linebackers play good, secondary play good, last line defense. There's no mystery behind it. I don't know if Diggs is going to stick Julio Jones, but they got Calvin Ridley as well. So they got some receivers, man. They're going to go deep. They're going to test them. They're going to test our young secondary a lot. They're going to get tested. So we're going to see how good they really are. I like Diggs. He's going to leave him out there. Let him get beat. Let him get burnt. He will develop into a great corner in this league. And will be a great corner if he keeps it up. He got some balls caught on him, some important balls caught on him last week, but he was there. He kind of tipped the ball a little bit, but at least he was there and he turned his head and he tried to make a play on the ball. That's what I like. It'll get better. So let him keep trying. Let him keep out there. I don't know. I don't know how well their run game is, but I know they do have a high-powered offense. High-powered receiving. But we gotta get to the quarterback. We gotta stop backfield, man. Oh, and wrapping up, remember all the mistakes we were seeing the same mistakes we've been seeing last year and the year before. The fundamentals will win Super Bowls, guys. The New England Patriots been doing it for years. They don't have flashy guys. They're a fundamentally sound team, and that's what we need to do. We need to be fundamental. No penalties. We started the damn game last week with penalties. Penalties was another opponent for us. We made it another opponent for us because we're just undisciplined. So discipline, before I even get to the front four, before I even get to the defense period, discipline. discipline and fundamentals. Just simple wrapping up and tackling somebody. So, something that you learned back in Pop Warner football that they couldn't do last week. They had guys in the back. They had their running back in the backfield. Let him go. Boom. He gained about 5 or 6 yards. They were nickel and diming on us last week. And the Atlanta Falcons, trust me, guess what the Atlanta Falcons did? They went back and watched that game last week, film by film, reel by reel, whatever. Mm-hmm. And they saw everything that the LA Rams was doing to us. And they're going to do it too.
Oh, I wouldn't be shocked by that. And I think ultimately it comes down to, can you stop them, right? The Falcons had 3 100-yard receivers. They still lost the game. So I'm not like, look, you can have 5 people get over 100 yards receiving, but if you lose the game, no one's going to care about that, right? Like, that's stuff we were thinking the Cowboys would do. And ultimately, my whole thing is, I went back and I watched that Atlanta game versus Seattle. I watched it again just to kind of see what should we expect. Ultimately, we need to attack early and often with the passing attack we have, because the Seahawks were able to pick apart Atlanta's pass secondary to the point to where they literally jumped on them early, and they can afford to run the ball here and there. Granted, they didn't run the ball a lot. Russell Wilson was their leading rusher with like 20-something yards, but ultimately, it comes down to what's best for this game. If we're going off of what happened this week with Seattle against Atlanta, we should be passing the ball down early. We should be able to get into the end zone early and often and go deep. The number one thing is we need to get Dak the time to go deep. I understand people can get pissed off and be like, why isn't Dak going deep? Why aren't we dialing up play passes to go deep? My only thing is that if you're watching the game, right, and if the defensive line for the opponent is not giving your quarterback time to throw the football, ultimately you're going to result in using short to intermediate passes to substitute for that, which the Cowboys did in that Rams game. We only had one deep ball that really should have been a deep completion, and if Jalen Ramsey didn't flop, and I hate talking about last week, but ultimately it's stuff we have to look at to look and see what are we going to do this week. Now again, if we're going to look at this offense, right, this offense has to show up, and I think it will. I'm not asking for them to score 50 goddamn points. All I'm asking for them to do is put up some points, play with a lead, and run this ball and make it so that Atlanta has to play catch up. Do exactly what Seattle does, or what Seattle did, excuse me. Put points up on them early. And I'm telling you, Dallas will be able to run the ball, I feel, more effectively given who they have at running back, but that's not a guarantee, obviously. That's not a guarantee. With Blake Jarwin going out, this should be the time where you see these 3 receivers really step up. But I don't want to go on forever regarding that whole soliloquy there. But go ahead. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, what should we do?
No, just basically, we both kind of covered everything, and there's no mystery behind what happened last week, and that's all we have to go off right now. Because I'll stop bringing up last week. Stop bringing up last week. Sorry, bro, that's what you do. Because I guarantee you, when they walked in that film room Monday morning, Tuesday morning, whenever, they brought up they recapped. The coaches recap. That's what they used to do when I was in college, man. And we lost the game. Even when we win games, coaches will come in there and say, "Hey, you did this wrong. You did this wrong, but coach, we won. I don't give a damn. You did this wrong. We got to fix this. We got to fix that. We got to fix this." That's what they do. You know what I'm saying? So don't get mad at us. You know what I mean? We just doing what we do.
Right.
They Atlanta. I'm telling you what they did. They like, hey man, shit. Van Der Esch is hurt. Sean Lee is hurt. Hell, and Tyron Smith, man, they pick up their phones and they look at shit too. And they're not stupid. They're doing exactly. They get paid to do what we do every day. You know what I'm saying? So
right. So I think that this week, and I think a couple interesting facts. I was just looking this up because I had to. I was like, okay, so what about Mike McCarthy? Because Mike McCarthy, I think, like, you can't really use things that happened in the Jason Garrett era to really look and compare. Rather, so I was like, you know what? Let's look at what Mike McCarthy has done. Well, Mike McCarthy has not started a season 0-2 since 2006, and that was his first season with the Green Bay Packers. Okay, Another interesting fact, just so you know, Mike McCarthy was, I believe, out of four of the newer head coaches with their teams, only Ron Rivera won out of the four. So I'm not hitting the panic button yet. A couple other things. When it comes to September, Mike McCarthy is 29-16-1 in September with an 18-5-1 record at home. Now, when it comes to how he faces up against Atlanta, he's 4-5 against Atlanta, including the playoffs. Now, granted, this is since 2006, so things can change. But I mean, he's 2-1 at home against the Falcons. But all this is meaningless because I could say, but again, it's just a track record to see, okay, is there a trend I can notice? But I could easily go and say, look at Atlanta. And Atlanta under Dan Quinn has done pretty well early on in some parts of the seasons, this, there, and a third. But ultimately, I do believe that this is going to come down to how well Mike McCarthy responds to what happened in week one, right? You look at what this team... Thank you, Iceman. Greatly appreciate that. My whole thing is this when it comes to Mike McCarthy. There are a couple question marks I'm circling for this game, and I had that down in my notes. Offensive line. What does he do? Okay, Stephen Jones can talk all the stuff he wants to talk about, how he thinks the team should be. He's entitled to his opinion, as am I. But ultimately, what does Mike McCarthy do to make this offensive line play better? Or the best it can be, depending on the player personnel? How can he get Dak Prescott to get the ball out quicker, or rather give him the time to deliver the ball? How can he get Zeke? All these question marks. I mean, some of them are not as high tier as the offensive line, but my point still stands. Defensively speaking, can we please get a pass rush early and often? That is another thing I'm looking at. Those are the two key things this week. If Dallas can fix that even by 50, 80%, we should be able to win this football game. I mean, what do you feel on that, man? What do you think are your keys to victory, or what are you looking at?
We all know that he's saying, "What's up, man?" That's my boy, man. We all know that Mike McCarthy, as Dallas Cowboy fans, we were all looking for something different. We were looking for something different. We got tired of Garrett. It was time for Garrett to go. Time for him to go. We got to have something different. We're tired of that. We're losing. Garrett's. It's a close game in the playoffs. Garrett's. Hell, if we don't won a Super Bowl, Garrett would be. It's just tired of it. So the play calling. We had to get new parents and new teachers in the classroom. So we all went. When Mike McCarthy came, we were like, "Oh shit, okay, this guy got a Super Bowl ring. He's played with Brett Favre, Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers
and Brett Favre, yeah."
Yeah, and so he's been with the best. These were the best to do it. So he knows what it means and how it feels to get there.
Right.
Your expectations go up, just like when we got Charles Haley back in the day. Ken Norton was like, "Damn, man, Charles Haley already got 2 rings with San Francisco, man." And we ain't seen nothing like that before. Shoot, I hope we can get one now. So when somebody like that comes in the room, you're like, oh, shoot, our eyes on that person, And for us to go through what we went through last week, I know it's just one game. I know it is.
Right.
But it's just like, really? We got to win this game. My expectations are really high. I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm not, oh, yeah, the Cowboy fan in me, I'm excited. But I'm going at it. I'm going into this game really easy. I expect us to win this game. This is a must win for us. I don't want to be 0-2. I don't want to be, because we are getting hurt. We're getting injured. Guys are dropping like flies. We don't know who's next, because everybody's been that car that's been sitting in the garage over the winter. You get what I'm saying? So,
right.
When you at work, you don't know your phone. When your phone goes off, you get that alert. You're like, God damn it, who's hurt now? So we got to win some games. We got to get this W, man. Defensively, it's got to be back to fundamentals. That's the only way you're going to win a game, defensively. Fundamentals. And offensively has to be, we have to take more chances. Dak Prescott has to go ahead and throw that ball downfield. I was watching highlights of the other games, man, and how their quarterbacks were just throwing the ball downfield. Tyler Murray, the quarterback.
Kyler Murray, yeah.
Kyler Murray, I'm sorry. Too many blows to the head in college.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray, that quarterback, he's my height. He's my height, and he's just throwing the ball. He's just taking a chance. And I need Dak Prescott to go ahead and just score. I love him as our quarterback. You know, I need to go ahead. I need him to go ahead and start running that ball himself. If he doesn't see anything, go. Or just go ahead and just, hey, Coop, Gallup, you know, what's the new guy? The new
CeeDee Lamb.
Lamb, you know, go ahead and get him deep, man. We got to start going deep. Our play calling has got to get better with all these weapons that we got. And I know we lost our tight end. Jarwin is out, you know, so.
Right.
But
and
that's pretty much all I got on that. You know, it's a must win for us.
And look, I'm going to be honest when I'm looking at, you know, this objectively. Okay. If you were to ask me as an NFL fan, who needs this game more? Obviously Atlanta, because they're in a more competitive division. Now, I'm not saying that Dallas should lose this. Absolutely not. They better not lose this game. But what I am saying is that both these teams have high stakes. And honestly, if I'm the Cowboys, you need to win this game because then you have a tough game versus Seattle on the road. And I'm looking at it this way. If the Cowboys, based off of how I'm looking at it, and we said this to start the season, I said if the Cowboys can come out of the September or the first 4 games at 2-2 or 3-1, I will be satisfied. But if we come out of September at 1-3 or God forbid 0-4, I don't know what I would say. But again, we'll find out what kind of team we are after 4 to 6 games. I'll be the first to tell you, hey, this is a team where we got to look at what we got and we got to do this, we got to do that. But I'm trying to like do this one game at a time because for all we know, the Cowboys could go out on Sunday and win 50-0, and we'd be like, oh man, it's the Super Bowl. Listen, man, even if they were to do that, we still have to get a track record to see what this team's like. And again, we'll see what happens. But
let me say one more thing before we go. Before you go to the next, I think I had cut myself off when I was talking about McCarthy and our expectations for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we finally saw something different in him too. You know, he was doing different things in the press conferences, at practice, in the blue and white game, hiding the numbers. We all thought we was going to get a blue and white game. Remember that? We all thought we wanted to watch a live blue and white game because we were so excited to see what this team, the CeeDee Lambs, all these guys, Bernard Francis, when we thought we were going to have him, they were making such big plays in training camp. They were doing this, they were doing that. They were always on the tube, on the TV. And blue and white game. Oh, they hiding the numbers. Oh, okay, I can deal with that. They hiding the numbers. Oh shit. Well, now, hell, all I see is Michael Irvin and so-and-so talking. I don't even see anybody. So when we got all of that, I'm like, oh, okay, well, you know what? Maybe he's doing this for the good. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I like this guy. And I still do. But we did all that. And what happened? What happened last Sunday? What happened? We lost. And it was like,
right.
Come on, man. If you're going to be all ninja like that, you know, bringing jiu-jitsu and ninja to football, if you're going to do all that shit, win. You know, I don't want to see you doing all
right.
That. If you're a magician, you got this bomb-ass magic trick. You can make 10 lions disappear in a snap of a finger. And then you did all this preparation for it. You know, you're doing all this stuff. And we're like, oh shit, I can't wait. We all excited. We got high expectations for this damn magic trick. And then the motherfucker get on stage and he snap his finger and it don't work. Right. I want my money back, man. What are you doing?
Right.
You know, say, man, Mike McCarthy, dude, you got a Super Bowl, man. If you got to take over the calling or something, do it. Say, man, get it together, man, because the expectations for this team are still very high. Still very high.
Right, and Uncle Chuck is in my chat box. What's going on, man? Much love to you. Now, again, look, with Mike McCarthy, man, there are some cases where it's like, okay, I'm not asking him to be much like, I'm not asking him to be Bill Belichick. I mean, I would appreciate it, but I'm not asking for him to be Bill Belichick. All I'm saying is, man, is just be slightly better than Jason Garrett, and I'm cool with that. Now, slightly better than Jason Garrett, that can vary in certain aspects, because I know some people, especially some people in the comment section, might feel this way, but allow me to elaborate on this. People are like, well, why does the offense look the same from last year? Well, You got a guy that had the same offense from last year with some minor tweaks to it because you're starting to notice it. Yeah. What is it? I'm trying to think. Okay, so like when it comes to the passing game, you're starting to see the Cowboys are passing the ball more frequently than running the football, which is something that we wanted to see. Pass down early and often and run the ball here and there. It's just these certain situations. I mean, Mike McCarthy said it. Like when you're running the football, it's all about tempo. I mean, that's what offense is all about. It's all about tempo, right? If Zeke's doing his thing and cooking, you keep giving him the ball until it doesn't work. And I saw that in some glimpses on Sunday, right? There are some instances where it's like, I don't know why in the hell you're doing this, that, and the third. And again, also the aggressiveness. We're asking, hey, can we have a coach that's a little bit more aggressive? And you kind of see that in some instances. And then it's like, I see people complain about that. Now, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm entitled to mine. My opinion is this. I wanted a coach that would look at some forms of analytics. I'm not saying he has to be completely analytical because there are some aspects of it where you're supposed to do certain things all the time. I get that. But my whole thing is like, yes, it is a game-by-game situation. There are things that coaches will do that will win or lose them games. I guarantee you, if we converted that fourth down and scored a touchdown and won that game, people would be praising Mike McCarthy to the high heavens. But we didn't. We barely didn't convert it. I mean, look, we could talk about that decision-making from week 1, but if in week 2 we see a little bit more aggressiveness in the terms of, okay, it's like fourth and I would not want to see us going for fourth down on the 50-yard line. Absolutely not. But again, it just comes down to the down and distance and stuff like that. That I can fully admit to. Now, before I continue, I just want to say this. If you guys want to, feel free in the comment section below to ask us some questions. Leave us some questions on thoughts on Atlanta, some overall thoughts on the team. Just try to make it for this week specifically, so we can try to answer any questions you have for this week. But feel free to drop those questions down below now, so we can get to them later. But with that being said, I see the Lunatic. He talked about it on one of my videos, and he talked about it during the live stream. Got to be better on third down. I think the Cowboys are 3 of 12 on third down. That is not good. We need to do better, and I think they will do better. I really do. I mean, that's something you cannot afford to lose. If you can't convert on third downs, you're screwed. The Cowboys early in the season of 2019 were really damn good on third down, even with the down and distance being very long in many instances. Again, while it's still being one game, they got to make sure they don't succumb to not doing well on third down.
True.
So, I guess we'll get into, I know we talked about keys to victory early on, but let's go into the in-depth keys to victory while we get some questions.
Okay.
In your honest opinion, what do you think offensively and defensively is the number one thing we have to do to win this game?
Oh, that's easy. Offensive line and defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
That's
fine. I was going to say.
It's just that simple. Great question, because everybody needs to hear it. Everybody needs to hear it. So listen up. Offensive line has to play better. I know we got some guys hurt, but they still got to find a way to do some switching around, try some guys here. This practice they had this week should have been full pads every day. There should have been no hot dogging, no shorts and shells or anything like that. When you lose games, it's full pads every day, and you on the practice field. You're not on the good grass. You're on the practice field. There's no hot dogging. There's no showboating, taking pictures, and lollygagging and stuff. You lost, so they need to be treated. They need to be treated as such. You know what I'm saying? Remember, Jimmy Johnson said when they lost to the Redskins, the flight attendant was giving them food, and he was like, no, don't feed them. They don't need to eat. They don't deserve it.
Right.
They don't deserve it because they just lost. So they need to know how it feels. So is Mike McCarthy going to be like that? That's the kind of coach I like. That's the kind of coach Troy Aikman like. Barry Switzer, him and Troy didn't get along because guys would get drunk and all that stuff back then.
Right.
And Troy would say, hey man, Barry Switzer, what you gonna do about it, man? And I can't babysit these guys and all this stuff. So I need Mike McCarthy to come in here and bring that Super Bowl coach. Now I'm starting to think, was it the team or was it him that won that Super Bowl? You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying he's not coach, but you got to get in here with the mentality of win, not, we'll try this and we'll try that. Now there's no time for that because it's the real season now. preseason. It wasn't a preseason. Everything counts now. That loss we got last week, that embarrassment we got last week, when our offensive line was getting pushed back, and Donald was right in our huddle with us. Yeah, that counts. So
right, yeah.
It starts with. There's no mystery. You can make all the videos and all the everything that you want to do, but it starts with those two things: offensive line and defensive line. That's it. I mean,
I completely agree with you there. Now, defensively, what do you have, man? Like, do you think it's like you said, defensive line? I mean, like, I guess I'll say this. Offensively speaking, right, we need to do a hell of a lot better protecting Dak Prescott. I feel like with the running game, it was pretty good for what it was, okay? I mean, Zeke was getting his carries. Tony Pollard was doing his thing. It wasn't like – there were some instances where it was like, what the hell are you doing? But ultimately, I liked what I saw from the run game. Now, as for the pass attack, when I watched it, that wasn't really about Dak not getting the ball out in most instances. It was more so he just didn't have the time to get the ball out. And ultimately, if your quarterback does not have time to get the ball out, or depending on what the play is, if it is a deep shot and he needs 3 to 4 seconds to get the ball downfield, or he's waiting for a play to develop, of course, there's going to be situations where he takes a sack or whatever the case may be. Now, he got sacked 3 times. He got hit 7 times. Now, we'll see what happens this week. I hope they do a lot better. Even if he does get sacked, let's say 2 to 3 times, right? Ultimately, it comes down to, does he get time to make certain plays? And maybe they got to be creative. Maybe they're like, listen, we can't just have him sitting in the pocket like a statue. You got to do some bootlegs. You got to do some play action. You got to think about what the hell you want to do. But I'm really concerned about this defensive line, man. This defensive line that has to get to Matt Ryan. I'm sorry, but this defensive line has to get. I have full confidence they'll be able to stop Todd Gurley effectively. I'm not saying like limit him to 10 yards. I'm just saying like make it so that the run game isn't as effective. But ultimately, you got to get to Matt Ryan. You got to rattle him, make him make turnovers, and get the ball back so that the offense can continue to put up points on the board, right? Aldon Smith, right now, the best defensive player on the team. Now, listen, we need to see Everson Griffin step up. We need to see DeMarcus Lawrence step up. I'm not saying he has to get sacks. He just needs to do his damn job. And he did.
I got a question. I got a question about Everson Griffin.
What's up?
Did he even play?
It didn't feel like it, but he did.
I went back when we signed Everson Griffin. Remember that? I went back and watched his highlights. This guy was all over the field. He was even making tackles on special teams. He was going out in the flats and getting interceptions. I know you had to have seen it. I was like, this guy's great. This is the guy we need to get to keep D-line
right.
Double and triple team and all that stuff. This is the guy, explosive guy that we need. And he didn't even play.
I do want to say this though, my man. I will say this because I'm not saying Everson Griffin was complete garbage the first game, because people were obviously mentioning in chat, because even I was going to mention this. He did have a good swat on 3rd and 15 to prevent the conversion. That I will say. Now again, Jeremy Bramlett, thank you for the $10 donation to 1980. You're the man, 1980. Thank you so much for that. Look. Listen, with these pass rushers and these defensive linemen, I'm not asking for all of them to have 20 sacks on the season. I'm not expecting Everson Griffin to get 10 plus sacks. I'm not expecting Randy Gregory, when he comes back, to get 8, 10 plus sacks. I'm not expecting Aldon Smith to get 15 sacks, right? But what I am saying is that even if you don't get a sack, the Cowboys need to land hits on Matt Ryan. When they were able to do that, they were able to get turnovers from last week. And I understand 2 different quarterbacks, 2 different passing schemes. I completely understand that. My only thing is that we'll see what happens. It is early on. Sometimes it takes a bit for for the team to get, even with no preseason, right? So I don't want to make it seem like I'm ridiculously frustrated with these players, because it's one game. I'm not going to say now again, if we see this in 3 to 4 weeks and it's the same thing where Aldon Smith, a guy who's been out for 5 damn years,
our best player, yeah.
But that's the problem. But I mean, I don't have a problem. He's your best player if everyone else is showing up. But yeah. So I think we pretty much covered everything. Before we get to the questions, let's do some. I mean, I know it's bold predictions. I love doing. I mean, I got one right last week. I got a good chance that I'll get another one right. I'll go first, and then I'll pass it over to you, and then we'll get to some questions to close this thing out.
Okay.
Offensively, I think Dak Prescott throws 3 touchdowns this game. I know that's some people are like, damn, are you sure about that? I have a really good feeling that this might be a shootout this game. I really do. I'm not saying he has to throw for a ton of yardage, but I think he'll throw 3 touchdowns. And then as for defensively speaking, I think Trevon Diggs gets his first interception this week. I really do.
I like that. I agree. I have a feeling. I'm not going to say, you know me, I'm superstitious. I knock on wood when I talk about the Cowboys winning. when I don't do predictions, but I knock on wood when I at least get close to doing a prediction. But I can see Dak Prescott throwing some touchdown passes, but they got to get upfield first. You know, they got to go downfield. They got to make it happen. You know, you can't just. Touchdowns are not going to come to you. You got to go to it. You get what I'm saying? So, but I do agree. I agree about Diggs too. Like I say, he's a young corner. He's going to be great. You know, he's going to be a star. I like him. I really do. And it's hard for me. I'm really picky when it comes down to cornerbacks. It's really hard for me to open up to these cornerbacks because I haven't seen it done right probably since maybe Charles Woodson, maybe, you know.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think Zeke is going to have a big day. That's my feeling. I think he's going to have an over 100-yard day, maybe a touchdown. Okay. And I think they're going to get Pollard in the mix too. Yeah.
Would not be shocked by that. But yeah, let's get to some of these questions. First, we'll start off with not Ezekiel Elliott in my chat. Greater liability, Darian Thompson or Jalen Smith? If I'm being completely honest with you, I don't know, man, because I think Jalen, there were some moments that I liked from him. And again, we're going to see him as the play caller this week. We didn't see him last week because Leighton was there. I really think Darian is more of a greater liability. I could be wrong. But I mean, my whole thing is that with Jalen is just I feel like he can't do it all himself. He's not one of those types of linebackers, right?
Yeah.
So I think ultimately, I don't know, man. That's a tough question, man. I think
Jalen Smith, I'm still I don't know if it's the defense we're playing. We're still in that 4-2-5. I guess we have to run that because of personnel reasons. Jalen Smith is always chasing somebody. I never see him stop any. He's always on the chase. He's not like, boom, I'm right here. I'm in your face. Like Sean Lee was healthy. Sean Lee, when healthy back in the day, Sean Lee was boom right in your face. He stopped that play. He stand you up and he stop you. Jalen Smith is always on the chase. But it just seems like that. I may be wrong, and I don't mind being wrong. But right. I'm just saying he's always chasing somebody. So that lets me further know that his awareness as a linebacker isn't quite there yet. You get what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. I mean, I think he's a good player. He was really good in college, but he's just not. I'm not really sold on him just yet as a superstar linebacker that could stop. Because hell, we would have seen him last week.
Right.
I mean, right. He makes tackles. He does. He's in there. I'm not saying he's not doing anything at all, but I'm just like, he's not that superstar that the Dallas Cowboys make him up to be.
Right, and that's my thing is that with Jalen, I never viewed him as a superstar linebacker. I viewed him as a because for me, I view players differently. Like, I have Pro Bowlers, which I feel like he's borderline pro. I mean, he is a Pro Bowler now. But he's like a borderline Pro Bowl type of linebacker, which I don't mind having. But I don't want to, it's one game. We'll see what happens. Right. That's the key thing. I want everyone to realize.
Well, I'm going
No, and you're fair. No, and that is completely fair. I would say the same too. I was disappointed in him last year too. Let's get the Day Lunatics question.
Okay.
What's your stance on pre-snap motion? Okay. me being a more so of an offensive kind of minded guy, I love seeing pre-snap motion. We saw a lot of it last year, but ultimately that crap is meaningless if you don't do well, right? Like for example, right, you start seeing like the main reason you do that ultimately, Day Lunatic with the $2 donation, you think Brandon Carr starts over Darian Thompson? Maybe. That could be a possibility. We'll see what happens after this week because he is on the active roster, I think, right now.
Sorry about that. I just had to.
No, you're good. You're good.
I just had to show respect. You know what I mean?
You're good. You're good. But getting back to what I was saying, pre-snap motion can really help you. No, you're good. It can help you really tell what kind of defense you're going up against. It can tell you if it's zone. You can tell if it's man. This, that, and the third. That's basic stuff. But ultimately, I do believe that the Cowboys need to do a bit more. Them just moving Amari in motion is one thing. They can't. They got to do a little bit more than that. You can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna like put this guy here, and we'll see. Maybe we'll see more. I don't know, but yeah, like, what are your thoughts, man?
My thoughts are, I mean, that's a great question because we don't do it enough.
Right.
The key to having an offense is to confuse the defense. That's what the Rams are very good at, especially against the Cowboys.
Right.
So I think the Dallas Cowboys need to start confusing defenses. Stop being so predictable. Oh, they're going to run. Oh, they're going to pass. Oh, here it comes.
Right.
Those pre-snap motions help that. They do. I don't know if it's in our coaching staff's style. We still got Kellen Moore back there, so he's still calling plays and running. And he's doing an okay job. It looks like a little just off of one game. I mean, I can't really judge off of one game, but hopefully he'll do a little better than previous years. But I'm not against pre-snap motions at all. I think we should do them a little more.
Yeah.
If you have the personnel for them, why not?
No, I feel it. Day Lunatic donated my chat $2. Thank you, my man. Greatly appreciate it. Mixing up tempo for faster starts? ? Go Cowboys. I'm just gonna quickly answer this with this type of question because I feel like it coincides with this. You gotta start fast. Like if Zeke's rolling, get him the damn ball. If Dak is torching them, get out of the way and let him throw the ball. But yeah, tempo is a massive thing. And Mike McCarthy talked about it. He said, man, we're all about running the ball is about tempo. If Zeke's in his groove, you don't let him get out of his groove. Any quick thoughts on that or?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Let's see. Does Gurley scare you? A little bit, but it really comes down to what type of how the Falcons offensive line plays. I'm not really scared of Gurley because he just isn't the same player. But knowing our history, we'll let him look like goddamn LaDainian Tomlinson. but in all seriousness, though, I do not feel scared about for Gurley. I'm more scared about their passing game. That's why I'm like, you should put the ball in there. Any thoughts on that, my man?
I'm glad you brought that up because once again, it goes back to fundamentals. Fundamentals, being able to, if you got somebody in the backfield, go ahead and tackle them, wrapping up, just simple wrapping up and tackling basic fundamentals. That's what this defense needs. Gurley's he'll run on you now. Don't
right.
He will.
Right.
He's still got something left in the tank somewhere, so he's still kind of young and he's elusive and he'll get you. But we just to override all of that is how the defense plays. Our front seven, how they wrap up, how they're tackling, bringing guys down in the backfield when they got them. That's just where it all boils down to. You got to go back to elementary with this defense. Hell, with the whole team pretty much with the penalties and everything. You got to come in disciplined and all about win. And it starts with fundamentals. Everything starts with fundamentals.
Right. Definitely agree there. Robbie Rackford with the $5 hollow for 1980. As long as week to week we add to our scheme so that we can snowball, not stump our toe and quit. Exactly. I mean, listen, with a new coach, it's all about experimentation, especially with no preseason. So it's going to be a lot of that early on. But ultimately, this year is all about just transition and patience, in my opinion. I wasn't expecting. I wasn't very high. I mean, I said we'd win. I think we'd win the East. But again, it's all about just seeing what we do this year. and we go from there. But that's just my quick 2 cents. Ishan K with the question, I guess for this week, is what do you think the Falcons can expose us with the most? I think it's their passing attack, and how can we exploit Atlanta's secondary? That's a good question. A very good. I'll let you start off with this one.
Ishan is he's been a follower of mine. He's a very faithful dude. He's got a channel himself. He's a movie guy. He's a real movie guy. So everybody in the chat, go ahead and check out. If you put the link in the description, Ishan, I appreciate it. But yeah, very good question. I think this team, once again, we have to figure out a way to expose them. We got to flip it back. We got to flip it back. We don't want to come in this game getting exposed. Last week we got exposed, and I hate to keep going back to last week, but that's the only game we got.
No, that's fair. Listen, that's fair.
There's some people out there that don't like me talking about last week, but I have to talk about last week because that we were exposed last week a little bit. I know it's just one game in 1 week, but I have to do that because that's a resume that goes on our resume, and it exists. So I have to go back to that. So, but we got to figure out a way to flip it back and expose them. We don't want to.
Right.
I think if we can expose their secondary with high-powered offense, passing game, that's taking a chance of throwing downfield would be great. So.
Right. I think ultimately, definitely. When it comes to their passing, I think when it comes to like. What do you think the Atlanta Falcons can expose us with the most? Definitely their passing attack.
Right.
Their passing attack is their offense at this point in time.
Yeah.
So ultimately, this is the thing. If you can put Atlanta in a position to where the passing game is not effective, they're not going to be as good. I mean, this is exactly what's happened with Atlanta in years past. They either have to score 30-plus points to win games, or they get shut down because their run game doesn't work. They've not had a pretty good running game since 2016, in my opinion.
Right.
I mean, actually, I would say 2017, but the point still stands.
Yeah.
But yeah, I share the same thoughts.
I think teams, they're going to do what works. You get what I'm saying? Like we can talk about their passing attack all day, but if they notice that we can't stop the run, they're going to run. You know what I'm saying? It's just we could talk about it all day long. We could talk about stats and stuff like that, and that's good. That's good to have because it's there, and that's all we have to go off of at times, depending on what we're talking about. But they're going to go with what works. That's what football is all about. That's what basketball is all about. Baseball, whatever. You go with what works. It's the rhythm. You get into a rhythm. Last week we allowed the Rams to get into a rhythm. We couldn't get our defense off the field. We just couldn't. They had their hands on their hips. They were tired. They were sweating, and you can't think tired. So they knew exactly how to pick us apart. And the Falcons are going to try to do that too. They're like, damn, it worked with the Rams last week. That's what teams do. They go back and be like, damn, how did they beat them? Oh, okay, let me rewind it. Oh, that's what they did. That's what they do. And I might sound like a broken record, but that's just what they do. You got to get in that rhythm first. You got to establish that rhythm first and that time of possession first, and fundamentals win games.
DJ Cobbs asked a question. He says, "Space, do you think we should tank if we lose these 3 NFC games? The fans can't expect rookie Diggs to carry us the bombs." Listen, I'm going to just say this really quick. My thoughts on tanking. You do not tank until you're mathematically eliminated. That has been my full thought process. I know, listen, I hate tanking with a burning passion. But my whole thought process, again, is unless you're mathematically this is how I felt in 2015. Until you're mathematically eliminated, you play to win. Even if you're 1-7 or whatever the case may be. That's just my thought. I really, I know that sounds like an interesting question, but I think talking about tanking now is way too early. Way too early. Robbie Rackford asks, do you think we still have players that were for Tampa 2 and a mix coming in to ultimate? And I would agree. I mean, look, that's why I say this year's all about transition, right? Yeah. Because you have a ton of players from last year that were in a different scheme. Yeah. And ultimately switching from of a pure Tampa 2/4-3 to a 4-3/3-4 hybrid, that takes time, man. You need to get personnel to do it. I think if the Cowboys I think the Cowboys are going to need probably another draft or two to fully get the effectiveness out of a hybrid. But that's just my thoughts on that. What are your thoughts, 1980?
I agree. Like I say, once again, it goes down to the rhythm of the game and how the Atlanta Falcons. I'm pretty sure that the Dallas Cowboys have been watching film on the Atlanta Falcons passing and receiving attack, and they have an idea of what kind of coverage scheme to run. That's what they do in the film room. And but when they go out, it's a totally different ball game. And I'm sorry, my wife is calling. It's a totally different ball game.
Yeah.
And you adjust to that. You adjust to whatever. You get what I'm saying? So I would like to see a lot of man from our corners, our outside corners. Inside could be zone, safeties, not seam the flats, deep thirds. But it just depends. Like I say, it depends on what the Atlanta Falcons do. They're not gonna come out and run the same play over and over and over again. They're gonna run different plays. They're gonna set up. They're gonna play action. They're gonna run. So it is what it is.
And we'll have one more question, and then we'll close this thing out.
Right.
Not Ezekiel Elliott in my chat. He asks this: should we fear the Washington football team rather than the Philadelphia Eagles? So I'll start with that real quick. If I'm being completely honest with you, I feared the Giants and the football team more than Philadelphia. And you might be saying, Space, that's crazy for you to say. Why would you say that? Here's the thing. Washington's defensive line is monstrous, okay? I am definitely fearing that game, especially if this offensive line is not fully healthy by then. Also, offensively speaking, they do enough, but you got to think about this, man. This is why Washington, I don't think, is super impressive. 20 of their 27 points came off a turnover, so Philly really beat themselves in this game. Philadelphia, I feel, is, and I said this before the season started, they're on a cliff. It's just a matter of do they fall off now or later, and it looks like it could be now. We'll see what happens in week 2 and 3. If they do lose to LA, that's a problem, especially for them. The Giants, they don't look they look better, but they don't look impressive, if that makes any sense. And it's Saquon didn't look very impressive. He only had 6 yards rushing. 6 yards rushing. Danny Dimes did not look that impressive at all. So ultimately, I'm just going to say this once again, and I'll end my whole thing on here. I firmly believe even if the Cowboys were to drop to 0-3, they would still be able to win the NFC East. This division is not as strong as people think it is. I could probably see the Cowboys drop to 0-4 and still win the division. And I'm not trying to say that these other teams are complete trash, because ultimately you don't know what the hell is going to happen. But I do believe that the Cowboys have some leeway in this division, and I think that many people don't realize that. That ends my thoughts on this. 1980.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
So from Not Ezekiel Elliott in my chat to close this thing out, should we fear the Washington football team more than the Philadelphia Eagles?
Not after one win.
Right.
Yeah, I can't. They did great. I thought that game was over. I feel like they were up, 17. But I just not after one win. When they came back like that, I was like, whoa. But we'll see how they play against other teams. Every team is different. Every team has different strengths. They have different strengths in other areas. So you cannot go off of. I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying everybody.
No. I got you.
You can't go off of one game. Even the Cowboys. I got to say that to myself. Even the Cowboys. I can't go off of one game and be like, damn, we're going to suck this year. It pissed me off, but I have to be realistic. Like, okay, we got to go in Atlanta and get this win. I think we're still the best team in the NFC East. I do. Mm-hmm. I do. On paper, we are, and hopefully physically we can be.
Right.
One game. Everybody's just had one game. So the Washington team, they think they're going to the Super Bowl. Their fans think they're the greatest of all time. So you can't tell them that. But, God bless them. But that's just one game. So we'll see. But they do got a dominant defensive line, though. I give them that. They do. But, the Philadelphia Eagles line could have been weak, so you got to look at those. You got to take those things into perspective.
Right, and we'll find out in 4 to 6 weeks how this division looks. We'll see. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. If you guys haven't done so already, please make sure to hit the like button on both of our streams. It helps both of us out a lot. And if you loved what you're seeing, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any more shows. So Sunday, it's a 1 o'clock/12 o'clock game, depending on what time zone you're in.
Mhm.
Odds are we'll do a show immediately after the game, just a matter of when. I'll see, because I got to go to a freaking bar to go watch the game because they have the stupid-ass Eagles playing. But no, in all seriousness, though, we should have a show on Sunday based off the timing. We'll talk about our thoughts about this game. So hopefully we'll see you guys there. And have a great night, everybody. Peace out.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.